In every era, a certain kind of woman walks onto the screen and rewires the way we think about desire. She's often blonde. She's always underestimated. And more than once, she's burned down the very myth she was built from. This is Archetypes of Success, and the next installment in our iconic groups. Today, we're decoding the bombshell myth. Marilyn Monroe, Jayne Mansfield, Brigitte Bardot. They weren't just symbols. They were blonde archetypes, bending femininity into a weapon, a mirror, and a stage. And none of them played by the rules, even when they were pretending to. She was born Norma Jean Mortensen in 1926, but the world came to know her as Marilyn Monroe. The name, the face, the icon. To many, she's still the archetypal blonde bombshell. But the archetype she embodied wasn't just surface deep beauty or bedroom-eyed seduction. Marilyn was the lover archetype in all its tenderness, fragility, and ache. The lover isn't simply about attraction, it's about connection, longing, the desperate desire to be seen, felt, chosen. It's the kind of archetype that invites you to look and then dares you to look deeper. In Gentlemen Prefer Blonde, she made diamonds sing. In Some Like It Hot, she delivered comedic gold under layers of satin and sadness. But off-screen, Marilyn was fighting to prove she was more than the sex symbol she'd been sold as. She founded her own production company. She studied with Lee Strasberg. She read Rilke. And yes, she battled significant mental health issues and addiction. Marilyn didn't just want to be beautiful, she wanted to be safe. That's the paradox of the lover archetype. The very thing that makes them desirable, their openness, their vulnerability, their magnetism, is also what makes them so easily broken. Marilyn's brilliance was undeniable. So was her pain. And in the end, it's the lover's wound, the deep yearning to be known, to be loved, to be safe, that still haunts her story. If Marilyn was the myth, Jayne was the riot. Born in 1933, Jayne Mansfield took the bombshell formula and lit a match to it. She wasn't content to simply embody the fantasy. She wanted to subvert it, bend it, mock it, until the whole world wondered who was actually in on the joke. Jayne was outrageous on purpose, and that made her dangerous. She drove a hot pink convertible, dyed her poodles to match, and showed up at nightclubs where she wasn't invited just to make headlines. But she also studied Latin, quoted Shakespeare, and spoke 5 languages. She wasn't a punchline. She was a provocation. Her roles in The Girl Can't Help It and Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter were master classes in camp, satire, and controlled chaos. She played the blonde bimbo with such exaggerated flair that she made the stereotype ridiculous and powerful all at once. That's the rebel archetype at work. Disrupt, disturb, detonate. Not for shock value, but to reveal the farce behind the facade. Jayne didn't ask permission. She made herself impossible to ignore. And while her life ended in tragedy, her impact still lingers like lipstick on a glass, bold, bright, and unforgettable. Born in 1934 in Paris, Bardot entered the scene with a sultry whisper rather than a bang. She wasn't America's sweetheart, she was Europe's siren, and her archetype was less about pleasing others and more about escaping them. Brigitte Bardot was the explorer. In And God Created Woman, she ignited scandal simply by dancing barefoot. In Contempt, she played a woman whose emotional detachment became a kind of poetry. She was sensual but untamed, sexy but solitary. And as her fame grew, so did her resistance to it. Bardot wasn't interested in being your fantasy. She wanted to be free from the media, from men, from the mythology that had made her famous. Eventually, she walked away from it all. No farewell tour, no curated goodbye. She swapped the red carpet for the quiet company of animals and became an outspoken animal rights activist, turning down interviews and public appearances. That's the explorer's way. They journey inward as fiercely as they once roamed the earth. And in saying no to the world, Bardot said yes to herself. What ties these three women together isn't just the blonde curls or the hourglass silhouettes. It's what they did with the fantasy they were handed. They weren't born bombshells. They built those roles, and then they each outgrew them. In their own way, they all three turned the archetypes that they had inside out, revealing their power, their peril, and their possibilities. Marilyn offered us the lover, aching and exquisite. Jayne charged in as the rebel, blowing kisses and burning bridges. Brigitte slipped through the gates as the explorer, half muse, half mystery. And yet none of them were just these roles. They were artists, activists, businesswomen, visionaries. They took the scripts handed to them by patriarchy and culture and rewrote them. They didn't just perform femininity, they redefined it. And they knew better than any scriptwriter why audiences were drawn to them. Maybe you see yourself in Marilyn, craving beauty and tenderness in a world that often demands masks. Or maybe you're Jayne, laughing too loud, dreaming too big, refusing to shrink. Or maybe you're Bardot, wild, inward, uncontainable, perfectly happy in your own space. These are the bombshells, not as objects, but as blueprints, as proof that even the most reductive archetypes can be reclaimed and reborn. And if you're new here, welcome to Archetypes of Success. We don't just analyze legacy, we decode the stories underneath it. Because even a bombshell, she's never just a body. She's a cipher, a contradiction, a code to crack. What are you?